We're going to answer a question from one of our followers about our green yard. But first I wanted to share a tour of our new emu enclosure. We're going to get some emus in a couple days here, and I wanted to give you a little bit of information about emus and what it's like to have them. If you'll follow me, we can check this out. You're entering our emu run right now that we designed. That's about 1,000 square foot, about 950 square feet here in our yard. We did a lot of research and set this up knowing that we were going to get some emus in our future here. So this run is comprised of these T-posts and this welded wire, and these are T-post fence clips holding this wire to these posts here. So it makes it nice and sturdy. This is about 5.5 feet tall, and the recommended height for a fence for emus is 5 to 6 feet. So we're hoping we're right in that area for the fence requirement. Let me keep taking you back this way. Emus are running creatures. They have long legs. They can run up to 30 plus miles per hour. When you build an emu enclosure, you want it longer, more rectangular, rather than more square, because you want to allow them some space to run. So we have this about 15 by 75 area in here that they can run up and down this area, and you want to provide them just a little bit of shade just in case they want. They're pretty hardy birds, pretty hardy creatures, but they do need shade, especially here in our Arizona heat. We just set up this shade structure for them for when they want to escape. It's almost done. It's not quite there yet. The roof is just about ready to go on, and then we're going to shade off one of these sides or two of the sides to protect them from the elements a little bit. But from what we read and what we hear, most of the time emus will not need shade. They won't use this area. They like to be out and about in the weather. Like I said, we're going to get these from a friend in a couple days. We're also hatching 4 of their eggs right now, some of their babies. So we're expecting a few of those to hatch pretty shortly as well. So we'll have baby emus. We'll also have 2 big adult emus as well. Keep coming down this run with me. As you can see, this structure we built is pretty crude. It's just built out of 4x4s and 2x4s. We have a metal roof going on the top. And then the emu run has some trees and stuff in here, some foliage for them to graze on if they want. The emus we're picking up, they eat dog food actually. They're on a dog food diet, and then you provide them a little bit of water, keep their water needs up, then you're set for emus. Now we're gonna head over to the yard. Follow me over there. So we got a question from one of our followers on how do we keep the yard looking so green, especially here in the hot desert climate of Arizona. There's a couple steps that we took. When we first bought the place, like I said before, this yard was brown, dirty, dusty desert, and we transformed it into this green area. So the first step we take is we spread wood chips all over the backyard here. And wood chips are really special, especially here in Arizona, because when you cover dirt with them, they retain any little bit of moisture rather than just the bare dirt surface. So when the hot sun comes down, especially in the summertime, the wood chips, if they're spread all around the yard, they will actually help you retain a lot of moisture, a significant amount of moisture, and provide this nice climate for grass to grow and trees and things like that. But that's not the only thing we did. We then fertilized the ground with this, I'll show you right here. And this is water out of our duck pond. It is nasty brown, really good fertilizer. It's considered a cold fertilizer right after it leaves the duck. So it's perfect for growing things. Hot fertilizer needs time to break down before you can use it as a fertilizer. And different animals will generate different types of fertilizer. Like chickens need about a year before you can use their manure as fertilizer. It needs to break down, or else it can burn the plants and burn the things that you put it on. But we're lucky with ducks. Ducks provide a nice cold fertilizer for us to use. So we've saturated this yard just about every foot of it, every square foot of it with that duck fertilizer water. We especially incorporated it into these trees back here. Follow me along here and we'll show you some of the trees. And after we saturated the yard, we just made sure to regularly water, and we got a nice crop of Bermuda grass and weeds grow up in the summertime. And right now it's winter time in January, and we still have green grass back here because in September we seeded for ryegrass directly over the Bermuda grass, and the ryegrass grew through, and that's providing us our nice winter lawn. And it's going to stay green all winter long until the Bermuda comes back in the summer. So recently we've been letting the ducks out just about every day and pasture grazing these ducks. And the ducks absolutely love it. They go dig into the grass and they find little bugs, and they eat the grass and they eat weeds, and then they poop. They get their poop directly all over this grass, all over this lawn, and they eat little bugs off the trees and stuff, like little aphids and things like that. So it's a perfect combination of having pasture grazed ducks, which helps their egg flavor, along with it allows the lawn and the yard to grow nice and green here in the Arizona summer. If you look out over the rest of our acreage here, it still looks pretty deserty, pretty brown. We plan to just replicate this process down there, starting with wood chips, and we've been in contact with local arborists, which will give us free wood chip dumpings whenever they have room to dump their wood chips out. It provides them a service because they don't have to pay money to dump their wood chips at the dump. They can just dump it in our yard, and we can utilize those wood chips to help our yard flourish. So these are some of the trees we have right now. This one is an apple tree, and keep in mind it is winter right now, so these trees are mostly in their dormant season. Apple trees need cold hours, and that's why when it gets cold, trees lose their leaves, and they need to soak in some of the cold hours to fruit in the next season. So we're hoping for some nice apples from this tree. We just planted these about 9 months ago, along with all of the trees you're about to see. But keep coming along here. And this is our Pakistan mulberry. You can see all of its leaves are gone too. We're just about getting to the time where we prune them for the spring growth and fruiting. And then we have our Shangri-La mulberry right here. All of its leaves have fallen off. You can see them all on the ground here. We do leave the leaves on the ground as it breaks down and it helps the microclimate of the pastures that much more. All the leaves will break down and they'll, regenerate soil for the next season, and it's all a cycle, and then the bugs eat them, and then the ducks eat the bugs. And that's what the whole microclimate cycle is all about here. This is our Shangri-La mulberry. It should give us some delicious fruit this spring. This one is our ever-bearing mulberry right here. You can see the leaves have almost fallen off. They're holding on just a little bit longer. This one is a apricot that didn't make it. We're gonna have to replant another tree here in the spring. But you can tell when a tree doesn't make it as it gets really crispy rather than flexible. You can see all of these branches here are just breaking as soon as I give them any little pressure. We're not sure what happened to this tree. It just we think it got a disease and died. But I will say this part of the yard here, the soil was probably the worst as opposed to the rest of the yard. You can see the grass is coming in and it's helping the microclimate, but we think that has something to do with why this tree died. Maybe the soil diversity below this tree wasn't quite there when we planted it. So we're gonna plant another tree there and see if it takes off. This is a pomegranate here in full dormancy. It's still alive and it'll be coming back this spring, hopefully with some fruit this year. If not this year, probably the next year or two. This one is an orange tree. We planted this very late in the season in September. That's why it's so little. And then these two behind me are pear trees, and they are also both in full dormancy right now as well. They've lost all their leaves. That's important for the tree to go through that cycle. It'll wake back up in the spring and start growing again, producing flowers and fruit. Part of the reason it stays so green back here is we do water these trees and the lawn very regularly. This right here is our watering system. Normally, when it's not winter, it's set up with one of those automatic waterers. We took that off in the winter because those can freeze. Water is a big part of life in the desert here. We're fortunate enough to have a really good well here on our property. So we have water come up and store in a big water tank. And then from that tank, we're able to use the water in the house and in these sprinklers for the trees. And we set up a really basic sprinkler system for the trees back here. And it allows us to irrigate this land enough to provide this greenery. But a huge portion of that water is stored in those wood chips I was talking about earlier, where the wood chips retain the moisture. So we're not like wasting water. It's all serving a purpose in the microclimate. But yeah, we just wanted to finish off the video here and say goodbye. I hope we answered your questions. We'll see you next time here at Saguaro Farm. Thanks for joining us. Please like, subscribe our video if you like this kind of thing. Bye.